but they don't make sense. So let's ground this a little bit. A couple of weeks ago, there was a story, horrible one, of a child whose arm had already been broken, playing, and broke his arm. What we heard after that story was that he had been beaten severely. And why? Because his teacher noted that he failed to write properly. Note, his lead arm is the one that was broken, but his teacher is now saying that he failed to write properly and he was writing with his lead arm, which was already compromised. So he was beaten, and beaten badly to the point whereby there were marks on his body. This was reported and it was seen. We moved on to another story. Interestingly enough, within days of this particular story, when a young boy said to have been beaten 120 strokes or something like that, where his back was in a terrible condition. And the reason as to that was, well, I don't know that there's a reason that warrants such, but he was severely beaten. Just last week, in one of the national schools, a girl was with food in the bus coming back from an outing, and they're not allowed to have school food in the bus. But she was beaten to the point whereby her classmates could not touch her because she was in such pain, beaten at her knees and her back because she misbehaved. These are just 3 cases in the last 3 weeks. And of course, we know the stories that we saw last year where, you know, some teachers were making some young boys do horrendous things and were filming it. We've seen the pictures, we've seen the horrible things. But I want to set a caveat before we start to have this conversation, that in no way are we saying that teachers bear the brunt of this responsibility of how they treat students. And we are not saying that all teachers do this. We need to start from there. But we want to understand what exactly is happening, because if we don't understand the problem, we then are not able to offer or to discuss solutions. But then I will start with one question, Bwana Buhatsa. Are learners safe in school? And I'm not talking about from floods or fire. I'm talking about, are they safe under the care of those? And this is especially in boarding schools, but not limited to boarding schools. Not limited to boarding schools, because some cases happen in day schools as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. I thought we are talking about school safety in general.
Of course, this contributes to that.
Of what you're saying.
Yeah.
That is one of the issues that we can talk about. First of all, if I can define what safety is, safety in school is where the children, the teachers, and the non-teaching staff, and any other person, even parents, are well protected from harmful kind of instances, distress, emotional distress, and anything that can be said to be very, very harmful and not good for their lives. So from the instance you are saying, for example, where you find that teachers are caning children. In the first place, teachers are professionals. They have been trained, they are studied, they are qualified. We have the Teachers Service Commission, the Code of Conduct, and we have also the Children's Act in place. We have the 2010 Constitution in place. We have the Children's, the African Charter on the Rights of the Children. And all these are instruments that are in place to protect the children in and out of school. Now, when you find that a teacher who is trained and qualified and certified to teach ends up caning a student, in the first place, the government does not allow corporal punishment. And it's well put in black and white. And all teachers have that information that they should not physically molest children.
No matter what?
No matter what circumstances.
Okay.
They have no right. They have no right. And not only even teachers, even parents have no right unless. So when we hear that a teacher who is supposed to be directing, guiding, and counseling a child is beating a student whose arm is not functioning well because of the poor writing, what's the role of the teacher? The role of the teacher is to support that child, to be able to encourage, to speak to this child and train him or her on how to write. Because that is why that teacher has been employed. That's why he's being paid taxpayers' money, government money.
Or perhaps even say, take a break from the writing to your arm heals, something like that? Okay.
Doesn't matter, because the child, by the end of the day, the child is not disappointed with his or her handwriting. The child is happy, because that's what she's doing, and that's what she can do at that level. So why should a teacher, who is supposed to be guiding and counseling and correcting the same, which is his or her work, ends up caning that child? That's the highest ignorance, order of ignorance we are talking about in the teaching profession. And secondly, I've said that children are protected by the Children's Act. They have the right. Where you find a teacher takes chance to slap a girl in the bush before other students. What do you think that this teacher is showing in terms of discipline? How dare does he go back to school again and talk about discipline to the children and to the staff members and another person, even to the parents? How will they take it? Because they have seen him slap that child. So correcting, he is doing what? The wrong thing. So how does he go back to the classroom and speak about discipline? How does he even handle duty at school? For example, when he's on duty, how does he handle his work? I would say maybe one of the reasons why these things are happening is because there is lack of supervision.
Okay.
Yes, because on the bus, when the students go on a trip, we as part of the association, we normally insist that there should be a board member as a parent from the board. There should be a senior staff member, either deputy or a senior teacher on that bus. Even the driver is also in control on that bus. So if there's a deputy who is in charge of discipline in the school, why should a teacher, a classroom teacher, take law into his hands or in her hands to slap a child before the deputy watching? Yes, that's what you are saying. It's illegal.
Sheikh, what do you think?
Yeah, so I would want to agree with my colleague that professionally it's not right for the teachers to cane the children, and according to the Children's Act, the Education Act, and also the Code of Conduct that has been provided for the teachers. But then again, I think there are issues which we need to look at, issues of counseling in schools. I think has been alluded by my friend again here. One of the challenges is that counseling has been delegated to the teachers, and we understand that the teachers themselves are not professional counselors, but they have some basic counselings because of a training or a workshop here and there, but they are not professional counselors. So that in itself is a gap, and you find that now some of these behaviors that the children are exhibiting, for example, they are not supposed to carry food to school and they are carrying food to school. That is an issue that required counseling. So I think that is an issue that we may need to look at if after all we would want to address the challenges that we have. Then number two, I think we also need to look at the responsibility of the teacher here. He has academic work to do. We have these excursions here and there, very demanding tasks. And they also get stressed. So when they get stressed, where do they seek counseling? Where do they get the counseling services? They also have families at home. So we do not know or understand what is happening in their homes. So I think that is also in itself a gap that the teachers also need to get that support, psychosocial support and counseling, so that then at the end of the day, we have the learner is accessing counseling, and we also have the teacher. So I think measures should be put in place to ensure that both teachers and learners access counseling services, so that then we create a conducive learning environment, a conducive environment for all the people who are in the school, that is the school community. And by doing that, then we'll be able to have a harmonious living. Maybe a case in point is that in most schools, you find that the same teacher that perhaps my colleague is talking about is the one who is supposed to be the disciplinarian, and at the same time is supposed to be the counselor. So that overlap, again, creates that challenge and that gap. So I believe if then we are able to address the issue of counseling in the school, we'll be able to support the teacher and also support